Welcome to this week's Race Room. We are getting festive and we're talking driver lineup changes in WRC, rule changes in F1 and boobs and bums with Sebastian Vettel. Let's get on with the show. This week we've got another guest presenter with us on the sofa, introducing British driving sensation Chris Diamond. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. Do you like our festive little setup here in the studio?
I really like what you've done. The lights twinkling, tinsel.
We have pulled out all the stops. It is nearly Christmas, nearly Christmas. Chris, we're going to be chatting later about the F1 rules. What are your first thoughts, very quickly?
I logged onto my Facebook last night and it was just full of it. So I think we've got a lot to talk about.
Got lots of comments. And we are having a special look at these new F1 rule changes because Jose Samet, one of our viewers, commented below on one of our videos and asked us to dedicate some time to it. So if you want to do the same, comment below and tell us what you think. But first things first, let's get on with the news. So we already know that Thierry Neuville is making the move from Qatar M Sport across to Hyundai. He's going to be heading up the team there, and we caught up with him in Paris at the FIA Awards on Friday, and this is what he had to say about his big move. Thierry, big news! You're going to Hyundai.
Yes, you know, until the 10th of December I cannot say anything, but yeah, a change is planned or is done, and we are really looking forward for next year.
And I'm liking your glasses, Thierry. Talk us through them.
Yeah, a new model again. It's a carbon model. It's coming from Red Bull, and I really like it. So I thought it was the best for tonight.
It's also been announced that Danny Sordo will join Thierry Neuville at Hyundai, along with Chris Atkinson and Juho Haananen. Yesterday, it was also announced that Mads Osberg and Chris Meek will be heading up the team at Citroën Racing. So, with Mads leaving from Qatar M Sport, that leaves a gaping hole at that team. So, if I was a betting woman, I'd put a lot of money on Robert Kubica and Mikko Hirvonen turning up at M Sport next year. Last Friday, it was announced that Jean Todt had been re-elected as president of the FIA, and we caught up with him on the red carpet at the FIA Awards in Paris. This is what he had to say about his re-election. And you must be very happy that you are still the head of the FIA.
Well, I don't know if I should be happy. Anyway, I'm still motivated, which is the most important thing, and I hope that it's all our FIA community who is happy because they have elected me, and I will try to justify the trust they have on me.
While we were there, we also grabbed an interview with Lotus team principal Eric Bouillier, and I asked him what he would say to people who think he's made a bad decision taking on Pastor Maldonado. This was his answer.
It depends on which angle you see the problem or, let's say, the solution. I think I did the right solution for the company and the team.
And as far as quantum's concerned, what's the sort of situation there?
I think I always said, you know, we have a timing issue, so we have to take decisions. So this is why we decided to sign and go with Pastor. It's up now to Genie Capital to give more time to Quantum to try to close the deal or not.
We then asked him what he was asking for Christmas, and this is what he had to say.
No, just some stability and the possibility to deliver what we know to do, a good racing car.
Poor Eric Bouillier, let's hope he gets that for Christmas. In the world of Formula E, we have a new team joining the lineup for the inaugural championship that starts next year in September. It's Venturi Racing. It's a joint venture between Leonardo DiCaprio, the actor, and the co-founder of Venturi Automobiles. So that takes the grand total of teams to 10, and that will be all of the teams starting on the grid next year. The biggest news, though, is that we got Sebastian Vettel to answer our Boobs and Bums quiz, and this is him answering my questions on the red carpet at the FIA Awards on Friday. And we're doing a quick quiz with everybody. Fast or slow?
Fast.
Wet or dry?
Both.
Boobs or bums?
Both.
Blondes or brunettes?
It's private.
Have a good night. So this week we've got our guest presenter Chris Diamond, and I'm pretty pleased because I need an expert to unravel these new F1 rule changes. Chris, thank you for coming here and being our expert driver. So first things first, the big news at the moment is this double points for the season finale in Abu Dhabi next year, 2014.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts initially?
One of the biggest gimmicks I've seen in motor racing for a long time. You know, we've seen things like the NASCAR chase system come in, but this I think is going to add. I can't see the logic behind it. Obviously they had a good night at the awards, so maybe it's a hangover of that, I don't know, but just totally irrelevant as far as I'm concerned.
Do you think it's going to make drivers work things out mathematically? Do you think it'll lead to dangerous driving? What do you think?
The teams will do the mathematics. The drivers are going to be aware of what they need to do. You've got a Formula 1 World Championship on the line, you're going to take more risks. It's going to happen. So we're going to see some sparks, which is what they obviously designed this for. However, you know, the outcome, we've only seen 3 out of the last 50 World Championships change because of this system I saw on Twitter last night. So, and that's only with the new point system anyway, so I can't see it making any difference at all.
We've heard all year, and you know, we've been outside the circuits, I've listened to fans saying, oh, it's so boring, you know, Sebastian Vettel's just winning. Do you think it's going to increase the excitement? But if Sebastian Vettel's always ahead anyway, by giving him double points at the season finale, well, it's just going to have the same effect.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen domination from teams. You look back all the way through the history of Formula 1, you've seen teams dominate, they get it right. It takes a couple of years for other teams to catch up. It changes tides, we saw it with Ferrari, now we're seeing it with Red Bull. It's going to, you know, sort of devalue some of the other races maybe, but it's also going to make us appreciate less when we get a good race, because they're trying to artificially make it exciting. You know, we get to Spa, we have a wet, we have a dry race, or, you know, it's really, everyone raves about it for weeks afterwards. But now it's just going to be like, well, we know something's going to happen, so, you know, why bother?
It's a given. Now, talk me through this, because as a non-driver, I don't get how important having your racing number is, but what is the sort of importance of having a number that's associated with you and your name and your car?
I think initially it's an emotional attachment. We sort of you start racing in karts and you get a number and you try and keep that, because that's what you do. You know, I've raced with 49 for a long time. I've raced it through Carrera Cup and other stuff. I think the reason they're doing it, this one is purely for marketing. You know, we've seen in MotoGP it works really well. You see, you know,
Valentino Rossi, always the same, yeah.
And it's the same in NASCAR, you know. Everyone's got their brand. Oh, it's the 24 car, it's the 48 car, Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon. And I think in Formula 1 it's going to create the same. You know, I saw some things on the internet that people go, oh, but the lesser drivers aren't necessarily going to have the following. No, they're creating a brand. There'll be some people there, they'll sell the merchandise, and I think it's a great thing, and you know, thumbs up to that, that's a great idea.
Oh good, so that's a tick in the box for that rule change. Okay, time penalties, this 5-second penalty, what are your thoughts on that? There were lots of penalties this year. We got a lot.
There's been debate, and you know, the rules were there, and they've been like it for a long time. Everyone knows what it is. The 5 seconds, yeah, I think it's probably the right thing to do. I saw something bizarre on Twitter last night that they're going to have lanes for the penalty and stuff. And it's like,
that's never going to happen. How are all the circuits going to build these little runoff lanes?
It's going to be a post-race thing. You've got a 5-second penalty. It's a standard penalty through National Motorsport anyway. You get it docked onto your race time after it. You know, the teams are going to be informing the drivers of if they're racing a car that's got a penalty or not, so it's not going to affect anything. It's just going to be the outcome of the race, and that's what it's designed to do.
And looking much further ahead into 2015, we're going to see these cost caps. Some of the teams, as we know, Red Bull, their budgets seem to be endless, and maybe that is why they are so successful. What do you think about a cost cap? I mean, we are in a time of slight hardship, slight crisis.
I think it sounds good, and it's the right noises they need to be making. It's, you know, certain that motorsport cannot carry on at the level of expenditure that is going at the moment. You just have to look at the wastage that's, you know, left behind outside of Formula 1, all the categories, Formula Renault and these guys going bust. Within Formula 1, I think the rules they're going to have to make to police it are going to be very strict, because no team's going to suddenly go to their sponsor and go, yeah, we don't need as much money this year. That's not going to happen. So they're just going to find other places to spend it, whether that's on personnel, whether that's, you know, more wind tunnel, more CFD. Outsourcing things is a great way to hide money. We'll see. I think it's going to have to be very tightly policed, and if they make it successful, we'll see if it works, but I think they're going to have a lot of work on their hands. Well,
hopefully they've got enough time to sort it out. Well, Chris, thank you so much for being our expert driver and to break down all these new F1 rule changes. Next up, it's Tweets of the Week. I love this, 3-time Sebs and 14 World Championships between them.
Yeah, that's quite incredible, isn't it? You start looking at pictures like that and it's like, well...
It's unbelievable. Sebastian Vettel, Sebastian Loeb, Sebastian Ogier, and there are more Sebastians. Sebastian Buemi, Sebastian Chardonnay, the list goes on.
Yeah, if you want to successful in motorsport, name your kid Sebastian.
Absolutely. That's some advice from here on the sofa at pole position. Next tweet. This is ludicrous.
I love it.
I don't get what these racing drivers do in their spare time, just hanging out with reptiles.
Well, if you've got no iguana, why not put it on your head?
He is mental. Look at it, it's absolutely huge.
The iguana's enjoying it, he's enjoying it.
Oh, its claws freaking out. Next read. This is very thought-provoking, Cecil here. It's almost like he's trying to capture a race seat or a drive for next year in his hand, but all he's managing is a rainbow.
I think he's definitely looking for that oracle to get his drives next year sorted out.
He's looking for the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It's not going to be coming from anywhere soon. And also Sebastian Vettel with a unicorn. Very strange. Next tweet. No, I love this. This came from a video that they showed at the FIA Awards of Ivan Muller teaching Sebastian Loeb what it's going to be like in World Touring cars. Ridiculous.
Yeah, you think about what he's done and you wouldn't have thought he needs a bit. I think you'll learn a little bit from him. But,
yeah, still something to learn.
I've watched this video and I love the way that Van's sprayed on that suit in the morning. So.
Looking pretty tight. Little bit tight. Next tweet. Yeah, talking of race suits, I love this tweet. The Thunderbirds, they do look like Thunderbirds.
They do. That has cast me straight back to being 5-6 years old and watching Thunderbirds on TV. That is.
It's the orange stripes across it. It's quite bizarre.
It's definitely a sash, isn't it? That's what it's meant to be.
Well, I'm not even so sure about the car, but I mean, it looks quite slick, but the orange is quite out there.
It definitely. You're not going to miss it.
No, and interestingly enough, Rich Milliner is an engineer at Qatar M Sport, so he's obviously watching where Thierry's heading off to at Hyundai, so keeping a close eye on his old boy. And that is your tweets. So it's that time of Race Room when we talk about where we're heading this weekend, and actually we're not really going anywhere because Race of Champions has been cancelled, as we already know, but there is something going on in the Gulf.
Yeah, we've got the Golf 12 Hours happening this weekend. It's a little bit of a different race. It's 2 6-hour races that have a bit of a gap between it, so it's done on aggregate. A mixture of GT3 cars and CN prototypes. And around that circuit, it's really worked well, the Formula, and it's been growing every year, so it's going to be a good event to catch on the internet.
Some nice endurance championship for you there. And what are you doing this weekend?
I'm coaching at Silverstone this weekend, and then on Saturday night we've got the instructor do, so that's going to be a bit
of a Christmas party.
Yeah.
And where's that happening?
That's in Milton Keynes.
So if you're passing by, swing along to Milton Keynes and see what they're up to. I'm sure it'll be an absolute riot. I'm doing a little bit of Christmas shopping. Got to get the studio looking even more festive for next week. Thank you so much for joining us on the sofa.
Absolute pleasure.
Being our expert driver, I definitely needed some help this week. I will be back next week. We'll have another guest surprise presenter. But in the meantime, tell us what you think of this week's Race Room. Comment below and of course subscribe to Pole Position. See you next week. Manual or automatic?
Manual.
Boobs or bums?
It was nice to be here and to see all these people from the motorsport, and it's always a